Simsbury Planning Commission meeting of August 9th to order at 7 o'clock. For all those that, we don't have a flag here.
You do? In your back corner?
So
Next to the sad clown.
So if everyone that can stand, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That clown is kind of scary.
That is creepy.
All right.
Student art.
So we have 5 regular members here: Don Colantonio, Bill Rice, Holly Bem, myself, Julie Eaton. What?
You're right.
Okay. And Joe cannot be with us today, so I am going to seat Craig, because I think Diane was seated at the last meeting. So we will promote you to full member and have you. Perfect. Thank you. So, Bill, do you want to walk us through the approval of minutes from June?
Certainly. So I'm looking at the minutes of June 28th Planning Commission meeting. I have on page 1, lines 1 through 45. Anyone have any comments to that? Page 2, lines 46 through 91.
So, Bill, I wasn't present, but in reading the notes, I was confused by, I guess it's the 6 or 7, it's lines 61 through 63, I guess, that starting Commissioner Eaton stated that. I just can't make sense of what that's trying to say.
So Commissioner Eaton probably said it. No, I'm kidding.
Can you clarify?
Like Commissioner Eaton, that's...
Yeah, it's not really.
Yeah, it really isn't.
Not sure what
fair.
it's,
What we were trying to get at is to understand, I believe we have 12 parcels.
You were essentially asking, what are the 12 parcels? What makes them up?
Yes.
What are their characteristics? So I think you
Well, so
were asking staff that, or maybe you were saying we should assess what they are. And that's why you've got an agenda item tonight for that, and I'm going to show you the parcels.
So maybe it was more, better stated, Commissioner Eaton asked that the 12 parcels of open space land
Be assessed.
be assessed.
yeah, that's fair.
I think you were kind of asking a series of questions. You were saying, what's the minimum acreage? Where are they? Those kinds of questions.
Anything else on page 2, Commissioners? Page 3, essentially the minutes of the adjournment. Hearing no other comments, I make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second? All those, we can just, I can say without objection, correct?
Yeah.
So without objection, the motion passes?
You can do that. You can do it that way.
I don't know if it matters, but I would have
Ooh, you're
abstained,
getting fancy over
because I
this
wasn't
summer.
here for it.
And actually, you don't have to abstain, right? We've had that,
My opinion tends to be that you do not need to abstain if you were not at the meeting. You can choose to abstain.
I withdraw my abstention.
But I
You
am,
may.
oh, you abstain, okay,
I watched the YouTube version of it.
okay.
At least an hour 20 of the hour 40.
There you go.
All right, thank you. So, new business. First on the agenda is the referral, the acquisition of 56 Walcott Road.
So you have, you've got 3 referrals sent to you tonight from the Board of Selectmen. And we included very short memos just to describe, to the best of our ability, kind of what's going on. So in this case, this is I think a parcel of land, 10 acres in size, if I remember right, adjacent to the transfer facility and landfill. And so the town would like to acquire that because of its proximity to the landfill. As often, anytime we acquire or improve facilities requires an 824, find consistency, and almost always you ought to find them consistent because our POCD talks about providing quality facilities for a community.
And part of that too is we've probably been encroaching a bit on that.
I did not include that in my memorandum.
Okay,
But that's perhaps true,
okay.
that there has been some spillover onto that parcel.
So it's privately owned presently?
It is. Yes, sir.
And the present owners have elected to sell to the town if approved,
Correct.
rather than go into the open market?
Correct. I believe the Board of Selectmen have already approved the
Purchase, yeah.
acquisition price and contract and those kinds of things, but
Do you know what the price was? I mean, anybody done an assessment of whether it's,
so it's public,
Line
so
of
I
market.
I think it's in the paper.
100 and,
It was in the exhibit.
oh,
was it any, I want to say 175,000. Does that sound right, or is it less than that?
I think it had the assessed value.
I think the property card is in there,
Yeah, I see that.
but not the, so that's knowable? I just don't know it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's really relevant. It was interesting to know, but I don't, Craig, does it affect your decision on our referral?
No, I assume that it's, market comparable, pricing, so just curious.
Apparently, everybody's happy.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's my litmus test.
I would,
Well, and I think also it would probably prevent if they didn't get this piece, what would that mean? Would it require us
Low-income
to?
housing.
Would it require, yeah, right, but would it require?
Sorry, affordable housing.
Would it require us to do things for the town that could end up costing more money? Do you know what I'm saying? If they had to remediate in other ways? This way, they don't have to move anything.
my understanding is that that it was an agreeable
Yeah.
situation for
Right.
both the current property owner and the town.
Right.
Great.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to return a positive referral on application, which application is this?
You do have a draft
There's a
motion
draft
there in the
of
back if
motion.
you don't have to, at least it has the.
Look at
He's
that.
a pro.
820
He does it.
824 for
Yes, I
50
know, but-
He's a pro.
He is, I know. 56 Walcott Road.
Right, yeah, return a positive referral, which is 824 referral, yeah, to the Board of Selectmen based upon finding the acquisition of 56 Walcott Road consistent with plan of conservation and development.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of the motion? Say
Aye.
aye. Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously.
So the second item, the PAC project, yeah, okay. The second item is an 824 referral for 3,000 square foot addition, essentially their, 3,000 square foot addition to the Performing Arts Center. It is essentially a back of the house improvement, little office space, changing rooms, so the trailers don't have to be utilized. I think the community's probably been talking about this since well before I got here, but so it's, I think it's commonly known. But since it is, it is a significant renovation and significant addition, it would require an 824 referral. And it was not included in your CIP. I think bathrooms, standalone bathrooms were included, but this is obviously a much bigger project, so it would require, again, a positive referral.
When do they plan to start this? Just out of curiosity.
So they've indicated to staff on the planning side, on the land use side, they'd like to get started in the fall.
Okay.
We're processing an inland wetlands application. We are processing a site plan amendment as well. Like there are other kind of administrative things. Obviously, the town is a partner. You've got an applicant who is the PAC not-for-profit board is really the, so I think there's fundraising that has to go into all that stuff. But the sooner, I think they hope to be ready for next summer.
Okay.
But-
I have a dumb question. I think it's more with crowd management than anything else. One of the benefits that I'd read that of doing this project is that there would now be some public restroom facilities available for people using the playground or other facilities.
Yeah.
However, now if people are used to that being a public restroom, and then the Performing Arts Center has a massive concert, I think it's going to be a little difficult when everyone starts going to the restrooms that they know exist instead of the porta potties. I mean,
I think they usually close the playground during most events.
so they just use some cordoning off of that area. They probably have some
usually
security there.
I don't know what the event plan is, but obviously there's
You
really.
see, as a new mother, I would have done so. I would have been like, "Oh yeah, I know a hidden bathroom somewhere. We're not standing in line."
But
for the
Holly, I
porta
think that the
potty."
marketplace will figure that out. If the line's too long, folks are going to use the.
Well, anyway, I mean, it's
But I don't know. But
It's a petty
intended.
question, but
The public bathrooms intended to provide for the park. For the dog park and for other uses.
for normal, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's also,
Yeah.
as a mother, mine's grown now, but
Still uses the bathroom.
we used to use the playground when it first opened.
So, yeah, I think it would be a great addition. It'd be nice to have, like, a really professional. So, is there a motion?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to make this whole facility a lot more professional, and there's a lot of residual value to this project.
Yeah, I think so. Do you want to make a motion?
I
And
moved
look, you have a cheat sheet too, if you want to.
cheat sheet.
You can read the,
George has prepared, that's not it.
you can have mine.
That's the Walcott, the referral.
Last page in front of you, I think. No, it's gone. You got a lot of stuff in front of you.
Yes, well, I made my own copy
here you go. Here
before
you
I
go,
got here, yeah,
Yeah.
right here.
There you go.
So-
You got it. The second one.
Yeah, right, so I'll make a motion that we, the board approve 8-24 referral for 22 Iron Horse Boulevard, the Performing Arts Center addition.
Second.
That's a motion.
Right. Oh, I should say, after that, we say, is there any discussion? I failed to do that the first time. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any dissension? All right, the motion passes unanimously.
All righty. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Coaching the new guy along.
We're just buzzing through this, huh? Good stuff, good stuff.
Okay, third item?
Madam Chair, so Commissioners, before you, you have your final 824 referral for tonight. And so in this one, the town of Simsbury was awarded funding for the construction of a 5,000-foot walkway with associated improvements along Firetown Road from West Street to Plank Hill Road. I just want to call out that this gap was identified as a priority in the 2016 pedestrian bicycle master plan, and then it is consistent with your plan of conservation and development per section, or goal 13.2, which reads, you hope to provide for and maintain safe and efficient circulation systems for pedestrians and bicycles. We can answer any questions you may have.
So Savannah, today I drove down Firetown,
Sure?
trying to envision where the walkway is going to be.
Sure.
So I really can't make it out from this, aerial view. Is it going to be on one side of the road?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the proposal says the south side of Firetown, but Firetown runs north-south, doesn't it?
Yeah. For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's west.
So is it the side that Hot Meadow Country Club's on, or because that would be more like the west side?
It appears
Yes.
on that side. Yes.
Yeah.
So it would be on the west.
West.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so
South and west.
So it's
I
on
would give it. South and
the
west.
southwest side. So the side that Hot Meadow Country Club is on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So improvements may include moving guardrails, drainage,
It's all part of that project, yeah.
Okay, because, yeah,
There's
that's,
some
the shoulder is
there's a little bit of-
really close to
I think
that.
some earth moving,
that
I
first
think
hole.
there's some grade work that needs to be done, yeah.
It is.
It does, actually. So, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there's not a lot of.
No, this was kind of a coup to get this, this grant.
2 grants.
Yeah.
Yeah, remarkable. Kind of money for a mile of sidewalk.
Yeah, and it's nice for the kids at Henry James, that if when they want to go downtown, it's really nice.
But, and does this tie into the bike trail? Or is
I think it could, though, if you go on West Street and then take the path towards, like,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean,
opposite the package store, and
yeah,
then cross
just-
over to get to Town Forest, I think you could.
Now,
Or certainly if you were coming from
I
this
would
direction
look
to
at
go
it that
down
way.
West Street, because you'd go down along here to get onto Iron Horse. So if you lived up in that area, you could then go down West Street, cross, and that's all part of that bike path, so that, it would hook up that way. It would connect all the, those neighborhoods down around Henry.
but is that part of the design consideration, that you could ride bicycles and walk on it, or? I just saw something in here that
actually, I don't
implied that
believe it is, because I learned that I'm a bicyclist, and for me, sidewalks are much safer than streets, and I've always had my boys on the sidewalk. I don't care. But then I actually ran into a car on the sidewalk in front of the post office, and I was guilty because I was told you're not allowed to bicycle on sidewalks. Now, personally, I'd rather my child risk a ticket than risk a confrontation with a car, but I don't know if that's true.
That's my understanding as well.
So
But still, as a mother, that's what I'd be doing.
Like this section is a sidewalk section. I think it's probably a 5-foot sidewalk section, so it's not designed to accommodate multi-use.
A lot of our sidewalks are usually empty, so if you're not going to hurt anyone, it's a good place to put a bike.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll move that. Moved, the planning commission forwards a positive 8-24 referral to the Board of Selectmen based upon finding that the Firetown Road sidewalk project is consistent with the plan of conservation and development, which seeks to provide for and maintain safe and efficient circulation systems for pedestrians and bicyclists.
Our plan calls for that.
Okay, that's our plan, yeah. Oh, that's right.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Is there discussion?
Sounds good.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any nays? The vote carries unanimously.
Town just keeps getting better and better.
Hey, when we get that bike trail to Terrafil.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So now we have,
Yeah, so on the POCD scope, there's really a couple of them, but just minor changes from the July draft to the August draft. And if you go to the second page, really there are 2 items that, one, staff added one, and I think we had gotten a little bit clearer direction from this commission on the second. The first is number 5. It seems to me from talking to Glenn and from reviewing, the existing plan, that it probably makes sense. We don't really have a clear priority matrix that's just kind of a simple cheat sheet essentially on action and when and who's responsible. And so I think it might be a good time to just add that to the plan, as well as to do a little bit of analysis on what have we accomplished in the since 2017, and just maybe certainly include that in some fashion in the update.
remember we had talked about that when we were doing the POCD in 16 and 17? And what, some of the questions that I know it does feel like ages ago, but one of the questions I know I had, and I think other commissioners had at the time, is how are we going to hold our feet to the fire, right? And when these things get done, or we're putting these things in. So I'm really in favor of having something that's going to be a guide for us that can really hold our feet to the fire to then really put some of this in action. And I think we have done some of the things, like the affordable housing plan, I mean, we've moved forward, but I think to have something really makes sense, and that would be the next logical step. I think we were getting there, so that's just my feeling. I really think we need something to kind of keep us on track, and
Maybe, I think we should review the action plan at the back where we, assigned actions to other bodies.
right,
At the time, there was an agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think there's been very little motion on those activities, on those
I agree.
actions. So, I don't know, maybe we can reinforce it somehow.
Yeah, I find that it's probably the hardest part of the of approving it and adopting any long range plan is that how do you who's in charge of the benchmarks?
Right.
So yes, I think, and some of the things happen without any of us really even knowing. You know,
So,
somebody does this.
I'll give you a little idea why we did it, George. It is, we knew that previous POCDs had a lot of ideas in it, okay? But there was really, the zoning commission wasn't going to sit down and say, oh, that's mine. And then the Board of Selectmen wasn't going to say, oh, geez, that's something we have to do. So we pulled them out and put them in a list. So
I do, and when I say one of the harder things to do, because it probably requires putting it on your agenda, if not monthly, certainly quarterly, and going through the stuff. What do we need to do? And I think now that we're about full staffed here, and so I think we'll have the ability to help and facilitate that a little bit more. But I think it should be part of your priorities. You should certainly have a once a month, once a quarter probably, and if you need more than that, but then you can get a sense of what we're doing and what we haven't done, figure out if there are priorities that you can get to with others helping, and then we do the reach out to the zoning commission or to whoever might be in charge or a partner on that particular item. Yeah, I think we should certainly try to do that. I can't predict success, but it should be something we strive for.
but at least it's something that's on our agenda, that we're looking at it, do you know what I mean? I think, I think we made progress in putting that in there, because there wasn't anything like that in the
Right.
previous one, and so I think this just takes it the
Yes.
next step, and,
Yes.
yeah. Because I think we should be reaching out and
Yeah.
holding other boards' feet to the fire, if that's or come in and work with us or whatever, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should be more collaborative to
Yeah,
do that. I mean,
yeah.
we're, elected, but many of the folks we're dealing with are also volunteers, and so that's the issue. All right, the second item is, I think came up at the last meeting, where we were talking about the public engagement plan and how do we, when you do kind of a discrete and selected plan update that just has specific categories, right? We're not opening the door wide open here, but how do we go about getting, how do we get the right public input, and how do we keep it structured? So we did add that public engagement that really includes the first bullet point, which is to develop and conduct an online survey that Glenn recommended and wasn't in the last scope that you saw.
Okay.
And so I think that's that we usually do those at the beginning of the process, at the kickoff essentially. And again, the purpose of this draft scope is really heads towards the next the next bullet point or the next agenda item on consultant selection.
Right.
Essentially, it has been my direction clearly that we want to use Planometrics. They wrote the plan in 2017. It certainly makes plenty of sense. I have looked into our purchasing and consulting policies. We can be consistent with that, so it's okay to just, as a professional service, contact the person we want. So that's okay. We can do that. Use this scope for him to give us the broad price, and then when we'll go to contract, we tighten it up a little bit. We'll have him in again to talk to you guys about the specifics, and so that we all understand exactly what that scope is, what the price is, and what he's going to do. And with that, I think it's appropriate for you to give direction by motion to ask staff to engage with Planometrics to develop a contract and those kinds of things. So I did include a motion to that effect. So that's what I would recommend. That way it's on public record. That was the direction, transparent. I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I'll make that motion, that this commission directs the planning director and the staff to request a proposal from Planometrics to begin work with us on updating the POCD.
A second?
Any discussion? People are okay with?
Yeah, as long as we're abiding by the,
Yep.
procurement
Just so
guidelines.
just to help.
That's what I-
So the one thing we will do is we'll ask Planometrics and Glenn for a proposal. We'll get the proposal. We will do what we would call kind of informal due diligence. We will contact a couple other firms who are willing, knowing they're not even getting, they'll do a check on and say, hey, that makes sense, that looks like it's right. So we'll do kind of an informal due diligence, so we know we know it's within reason.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I'm excited to work with Glenn again.
Spoke with him today.
He's good, yeah.
He's already thinking about it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Of course he is.
And of course he came up. I wasn't at the meeting, but, when it comes to public engagement, he was stupendous.
Yeah.
And of course he came up with a survey concept.
He just has such a nice way about him. All right. The next one is mine. So I was at a work, so I'm part of the Open Space Commission, and we had a work group meeting, was it last week or the week before? I don't even remember. Last week. And one of the things that came up was they know we're looking to update the POCD, and Marjorie Winter was really, she would love to have a chance to meet with the Planning Commission and talk about some of the, and my notes are at home, but, things that we've been talking about, invasive plants, using native plants, now's the time. And so I think we act sometimes in such silos, because now that I'm a member, and Bill, and you would bring information back, but I just wanted to see what people thought of having Marjorie maybe come to this meeting or some kind of joint meeting with them, especially as we're moving toward updating the POCD, so that they could, we could have that discussion and see what she's got some great information, so I just thought it was kind of timely. She was very excited at the idea of meeting with us, and so I just wanted to bring that up to see if people, what people's thoughts were, and I certainly can reach out to her and talk with George about the best way to do some kind of joint meeting.
I have no objection to that.
I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I think we'd want to know that.
Yeah. Timing wise.
So the only direction I think we need is whether you want to do a joint meeting or whether you just want to invite Marjorie. So I think that's.
It might be easier for her to
It's just
do a
logistically.
presentation.
It might be.
It's just a logistically.
No, that's a good question, and I can, I think we were I
Both are great ideas. It's just that one is different. If everybody's together, that's great. It's just.
Marjorie's a very good spokesperson for
She
that
really is.
So
committee.
maybe
So-
having her come, okay, all right,
I'd be comfortable with that.
okay.
Maybe I would suggest, maybe the Aaron ought to just reach out to
Yeah.
her directly and say, would you prefer to have would she prefer to have a joint meeting?
Yeah.
Which,
Oh, I thought I turned that off, I'm so
both would
sorry.
be great.
I thought it was,
Oh, was that me?
no, you know what it is? I'm sorry, you
And you
guys.
got a lot of those.
Yeah, no, it's my work phone, and it clearly is a robocall, because it's from New York. Okay, so,
So if we had a joint meeting, we'd probably have it over at the library. I would think it's a little more space.
But it sounds like the gist of the conversation was that, Aaron, in your conversation with Marjorie, that you both thought it was a good idea for us to hear from her about some of these thoughts she has on invasive species and other
Yeah, and to hear what they're doing, I just think it's kind of nice as and we were, we're doing the PA 490, which we'll talk about. I know there was just a lot. They're talking about doing, the open space with these maps of open space. And George, I thought, well, this is kind of timely because you and I had just been talking about the map. And I said, do you know, this is what we're trying to do something for the POCD. And so, I just want to be sure that everyone knows what's happening and that we're not working at cross purposes, that we're working smarter and more efficient, And so that's how it came up to have kind of a joint meeting. But I'll reach out to her saying joint meeting, or do you just want to come and talk to us? And
Just based on what you just said, it sounds to me more of like her coming for maybe just a presentation. I mean, joint meeting, are we trying to conduct joint business, or is it more of us hearing from her about, you know what I mean? That's just.
Yeah, and what we're all working on and making sure that we're all it'd be nice if we were all working on, the same thing and moving in the same directions. I'll get that clarification. So.
And Aaron, I'm just trying to think of what kind of consideration should we have as the Planning Commission in regards to the way the open space is managed, or, it's declared open space, it's managed by other agencies. As planning commissioners, what are we on the lookout for? Or what
That's a great question. I don't know, George, that's probably more a question for you, maybe.
I mean, what's the cross-section?
So I always think of it this way, which is an open space designation, or the maps that we use to identify open space typically means that these are important pieces of ground in our community, that we want to preserve them for any number of reasons, either for active and passive recreation, or their environmental elements, or because they're in a trust. So I think that I always see them as a land use, and they are, just like if you've got a commercial land use and a residential land use, you want to establish policies and do things to enhance that open space. And typically, we want to protect that open space.
Right. Yeah. So once it's declared open space, we're part of that process. And then where do we, do we have next steps? Or what is there any follow-up?
There can be. There can be along the lines of our implementation plan. And what are there other things do we want to develop more policies? Do we want to, obviously,
or is it the agencies that manage it should be consistent with what's in the POCD?
Yeah, yes, and again, things like development projects for you guys, when you see subdivision applications, you want to make sure that application is consistent with what our open space policies are. Or if we've got applications in front of the zoning commission, we usually talk to them about consistency with the plan as well. So that's typically how we implement those designations.
Is there any activity going on where there's considerations of repurposing open space for athletic fields?
Well, I think we might have that conversation as part of the update.
Okay.
So we've indicated that as something to talk about.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the POCD is a really interesting way to learn. I learned a lot because you and I, Holly, were new when we did, and it's a really interesting process. And those are all great questions, and things that we're going to have to look at. And when I think how much has changed in 6 years, what we were looking at, right, and now it's just very interesting. Anyway, so.
I actually am kind of pleased that there hasn't been so much change. I mean, there a lot of the consensus that we had are still very, I don't actually, quite the opposite. I'm proud that when more people look at it, they say, wow, this kind of represents how we feel about things.
Yeah, I was thinking, though, when we did this, affordable housing wasn't such a hot topic. That's what I mean, like there's these
little,
big, big
Although,
issues that.
I tell you, when I'm out talking to people, affordability is on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
And especially our seniors.
Yeah. Yep. So. All right, so I'll reach out to Marjorie again and just get clarification then. That'd be great. Next on the agenda is we have to make a formal appointment. So I guess, I know it doesn't have to go to the Board of Selectmen, but I know we had a discussion about having Holly as our member, and it's an ad hoc member of the Sustainability Committee. So there were emails from Mark Scully and, forgive me, some woman, and I can't think of her name, saying that it really, there should be some kind of affirmative statement from the Planning Commission that we all are in agreement to have Holly. I thought we did
the
it.
minutes,
I
yeah.
don't, in the minutes.
I thought you did
I
it the
thought
same
we
night
did.
that.
You did
That's
Bill-
what
you
I
did
thought,
Bill's-
but was it in the minutes? I
It was
couldn't.
my first meeting.
We talked about it.
talked about it, but I
And then
don't-
you asked who's interested, and I said yes, and.
Oh, then make a motion.
Okay, so I make a motion that Holly Bem is formally appointed as our ad hoc member of the Sustainability Committee.
Second.
Any discussion?
Now, is there still an opening for like a member of the town, like I heard that someone resigned
Oh,
from, you know what, maybe that's not
I
sustainability.
think that's a different committee.
Didn't this one get merged with the green energy? or-
yes.
Yes,
It morphed, I think.
yes, I
Yes,
think
it's like
that's correct.
sustainability and green,
or
What-
Renewable, or
clean
whatever it is,
energy?
Clean Energy Task Force.
yes,
yeah.
Clean
Yes,
Energy Task Force.
That's it.
Because I thought that there was a vacancy that could be filled by a member of the public.
Oh, that
I
might
don't
be.
know.
I don't know.
That might be a separate issue, though.
In any regard, I'd love to see you on that committee.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? All right. It passes unanimously. Now we can say it's
And
official.
tomorrow we have our first
I
meeting.
know, we have, well, yeah, we're meeting with Mark.
Yeah.
Are you interested, Bill? Because I can ask.
Not
Oh, yeah.
particularly.
Oh, but-
More work.
No, I.
Or somebody that-
I may have someone that could show an interest. I still have to ask him.
Well, let's,
We might
We'll
be able to
tell-
ask tomorrow. We're meeting
we'll
with
tell
Mark
Mark
Scully.
if he needs someone, maybe,
Oh, yeah, ask them
Yeah,
if they're
yeah.
still looking for,
If they're still looking for somebody, we can let you know.
Yep.
Okay.
How often do they meet?
I think just once a month, right?
well, I'm not allowed to be a member yet, so now I can find out.
I think it's
I've
once a
been-
month. I think it's on a Tuesday. It's
We've
like,
had a hard time
like the
getting
third
people
Tuesday.
together.
at
I think
7
it's the
o'clock.
third Tuesday of the month, so it doesn't conflict with this meeting, I think. So, yeah. All right.
Keeps the Tuesdays busy.
I know, that's, it keeps you out of trouble. All right, thank you. So now it's official. I know, I don't remember, you want to talk about PA 40 now?
Yeah, so I don't want to, we talked about this a number of times, so really, I'm just trying to respond to Julie's request on, just remind us what are the 12 parcels that are getting the open space assessment, and, how it relates to where they are on the map. So that's really all I've done. Savannah, Nicole, and I think have our arms completely around the issue now. We completely understand it. We understand what you guys have done and what the talk has been. And we're really gonna take a look at it in the update as well. But, the long story short, again, I just want to remind everybody is, as part of your process, our POCD includes an open space map. And that open space map that we have, remind me, I think I have a picture of it. So the open space map that we have, it's behind you, I didn't put it in the Dropbox. That includes public open space, it includes land trust open space, it includes privately held open space. And there's tons of parcels there. Only those parcels on this map, according to the state code, private parcels there are eligible for the open space assessment. Now, some of those parcels may be eligible for other reasons through the forestry or through ag, but if you don't have forestry or ag on your property and you're not on this map, you can't get an assessment. You can't get a reduced assessment. So that's the most important thing. And the reason that these parcels, again, are in green on this map is because we want to preserve them as open space. That's we, when I say we, the community, but starting with this commission, you identified these parcels. And and that's what they are. But, and I think we know.
But just a point of clarification. We included it in the POCD. We did not decide what was open space.
Right.
Right.
That was done through a.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
That was done through an inventory
Okay.
that intern did over a period of like
Okay.
2
Right.
summers.
Okay. But you agreed, or?
We did.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, what
You
we-
found consensus.
Town told us these are what we have for open space.
Sure,
Okay.
sure,
So
agreed.
my
Understood.
the point is, we have not made any consideration for any other places that we would designate as open space so someone could take advantage of that.
So we'd like to do that as part of this process.
Start with 6 Pasture Lane.
But to that point, though, I know you had discussions about, having some criteria of, twice the zoning acreage and those kinds of things.
Yep.
But whatever that criteria is decided upon, it's got to be done as part of the POCD process, and then it's got to be shown on a map. It can't be an after the
Okay,
fact
so,
thing.
$64,000 question. Are there any properties in Simsbury now that have PA 490 open space designation?
12.
For the local clause, not forestry or.
There are
Open space.
There are 9 parcels that are receiving
Yep.
an open space assessment, a reduced open space assessment under the open space category.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to show you them right now. I think you know them, but I did maps. And there are 2 of the parcels that are shown on our open space map.
Okay,
The remaining
good.
7
Okay.
are not shown on the map.
Right.
So,
Going to stink when they get that retroactive tax.
well,
bill.
we'll talk about them in a second. We think that some may be also eligible potentially for a forestry reduction, or not an ag aggression. There's a
Okay.
couple that might be forestry. So, Firetown Road, the golf course. So Hot Meadow Golf Course is a parcel that is shown on our map, and it has the designation. This is a small parcel that it's part of a land trust, but it's shown as land trust land. It's off of Firetown Road. It's owned by the McLean Estate. So the first 2 are ones that are on our open space plan. This is an open space parcel in the off of Latimer Lane. That's owned. Hang on, let me get my cheat sheet out here. So it's just a parcel in the middle of a subdivision, and it looks to me like that's the kind of piece of ground that would have been dedicated to the town as open space as part of a subdivision approval.
Yes.
And I cannot find any record that occurred. So we're going to do a little bit closer look once we kind of get through this. But so this is an open space parcel, 30 acres, I think, that does not have. It gets an assessment, but it's not on our map.
Private owner.
Private owner. Yeah, that's a private owner.
It's wooded. That one might be able to.
It's a wooded parcel, and I think it's over 30.
Right, but there's other stuff that goes along with that. You have to manage it.
Yeah, there's, you got to have a.
Certified forester.
Yeah.
Yes, it's more complicated,
Yes.
for sure. I was just looking at it's 30 acres.
Even if we're talking about open space, and pardon my lack of knowledge, but that doesn't seem like it connects with anything else. So I thought the POCD had something where open space should be continuous, so that we're trying to do.
We do have language like that. We do, but I think there's a host of reasons to have open space. One of the reasons for the reduced assessment is to give property owners an alternative to development. That's one of the reasons for the reduced tax. So, if you have a reduced tax, so the question you have to ask yourself: is this a place that we want to see more development, or is it a place where we'd like to preserve that 30-acre piece of woodland? And if it is, then you might want to designate it as open space when you do your update. But so that's to answer Bill's questions. That's the kind of conversations I want you to have.
Right.
Is to identify these pieces and be like, well, does it make sense or doesn't it make sense? These are 2 parcels owned by the gun club. Their rear parcels, and I think the gun club on Nod Road, it's got its real activity up front. These are parcels that don't have any structures on them. They're just two parcels to the rear of the property that are, again, undeveloped and there's not much going on. But again, these are parcels that are not on our open space map.
Would that be affected by wetlands or anything, or by the,
I think that's starting steep slopes up there, actually.
Oh, okay.
Really, that bigger piece is you're starting to head up the mountain.
Okay.
So there's no,
Yeah.
There is a water course that runs through the one in the front. You can see.
Okay.
it on the-
yeah, that's all
Yeah, yeah.
floodplain in the front. That's the river floodplain there. Yeah. And
That's contiguous to the shooting range?
It is. It is contiguous. It's the rear parcels, and they are 74 acres and 10 acres.
so wouldn't that be difficult to build on that anyway, because of the floodplain?
It would. Now, that's another piece of
And shooting.
the variables, right?
And the
Is,
shooting. Oh, I didn't think of that.
is how do you weigh in the variable? Is a parcel actually developable? And so is it, how do you discern whether it ought to get a tax break versus it's not developable? Again, that's just something you'll have to get through.
It's going to be interesting.
Just
If you want to, I mean, the other thing you could do is, the other thing you could do is you could just recommend, you could just re-recommend to the Board of Selectmen, go ahead and adopt our existing plan, and, you don't have to do any more work if you didn't want to.
Shouldn't there be criteria at some point? I mean, isn't that the issue?
Yeah,
It is the issue.
it is.
exactly.
It is.
We need to
There should
be
be.
It is.
transparent
Right.
for all the future board members that say, "What was that all
Right.
about?"
Yeah, that's how I feel. It's not necessarily going to be a fun, but it's like when we got that about the PA 490, and we're like, well, why is she asking us? Well, there's no, you feel like it's a rudderless ship. There has to be some criteria, and that's what I kept going.
So my opinion, though, is, I mean, I know you talked, obviously, when you do this, you're going to have stakeholders, and you're going to talk to, again, you'll talk to the Open Space Committee again, it's going to happen. But it seems to me that it is your criteria to set, because you are setting the map.
Right.
Right, that criteria is directly related to your open space map. And so you're going to be the generator of that criteria.
Right, so we're going to have to be careful, because we may designate additional parcels that are not currently officially open space.
Good.
This could be like targeted open space.
Good. Or we could decide, and I'm not saying we would, but is that worth having that designation if
Yeah.
it's not developable? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I mean, so it could go either way. You could end up.
Are we gonna run into an issue with definitions between officially
Oh, yeah.
designated open space, like in a subdivision? In the or the approval, the plan, it'll say X amount of acres dedicated to the town of Simsbury as open space, versus a private, someone who's got 50 acres and.
With one residence on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we're going to run into a problem. I think we're going to be able to define that, and I think we're going to be able to map that.
But like, say we had town open space, okay? Is that's not eligible for PA 490 status? is
No,
it?
but it's still open space we want to protect.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, we're talking about parcels that, for this discussion, there's going to be a layer of parcels that are privately held, and meet some criteria that you develop,
Yep.
and they'll be mapped as such, and therefore they.
Well, most of these commissioners have heard my spiel on it. I think we have enough open space in Simsbury, so, I don't see a lot of fairness in offering PA 490 open space to a private landholder. That's where I'm going to come from.
For me, it would have to depend on where the property is and what, you know what I mean? But I understand what you're saying. There could
Yeah,
be, and I can't think of, I'd have to take a look at the property, but there could be, I don't know.
I think there's going to be a lot of different.
There's going to be a lot of discussion about this, and I think what you'll end up.
in advance.
I think what you'll end up hearing from staff is the parcels that you designate as open space are parcels you want to protect from development. And I think there's just a dark period that goes after that sentence.
It's a good way
Just to
look at it.
clarify, when you said there's nine parcels plotted now as part of open space,
Say that again.
I'm just trying to recall
I was
my
laughing at
memory.
my own clever statement right there.
I'm gonna use
So there were 9 parcels currently called out in our open space plan, correct?
Receiving
9 that
reduced
were
Receiving the reduced assessment.
Yes.
for open space.
2.
There are 2 parcels on the open space plan receiving the reduced assessment.
There are 9 that are receiving it, but only 2 are on the
Okay.
plan.
Yeah, that's.
So we have 7 out of compliance.
Yes.
Okay.
And now we're
Look at me
looking
with that math.
But it's a little bit confusing because the plan says that the planning commission identified 12 parcels. I mean, the plan, this says that, but I'm not exactly sure which parcels those are. I'm not sure. So we're going to do it again.
So then the things so to your point, we should be looking at what we want to protect. And then we do have to take into consideration if 7 are out of compliance, we need to decide if we want to grandfather them in.
Yeah, we're going to let them know. We're going to let them know
Take-
now under
take it
the
away.
law that they're not eligible for the program effective October 1st. I think the town assessor has indicated that we need to make them. And now we're going to do it the old-fashioned way and talk to them and try to explain.
Let them
and
know
do-
what their increase is?
Yes.
In the midst
yes.
of a inflation
Yes, but
crisis?
it has to be done. It has to be done.
I agree.
So what are the other parcels,
Okay, yeah,
please?
so here we go. Let's just finish up. This is a parcel, 2 parcels off of Pinnacle Mountain Road. One is a 10-acre parcel, and the larger piece with the long stem there has a home on it, a home site on it. And then the other parcel is owned by that same property owner. It looks like it's that end of the cul-de-sac there. So these are 2, I mean, it's a private, I think it's, that second piece is 2 acres in size.
And that's not on the thing either. No. This, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like an
On the map.
available subdivision parcel, one of them.
So does that count as 2 parcels?
It is 2 parcels, yeah. One is 10 acres, one is 2 acres.
Is that backs up to Tanager, is that?
Right.
Yes, yes, that's correct.
And the reduced
It's surrounded.
On the 2-acre one.
And Tanager itself came from some donated parcels from Pinnacle, too.
Yeah.
The
Right,
Mortimer-
and the last 2,
That's my house, everyone.
so we've got 2 pieces under the Dino Nobel, Ensign Bickford, real estate.
Oh, yeah.
The 200-acre 200-acre piece is the large. It's a large piece in the back that does house some bunkering system for explosives today. So it is an active industrial parcel. And the piece up front is just a smaller piece. I'm not exactly sure whether that has.
I thought that, yeah.
I think it does.
The little piece is supposed to be a, well, it was going to be developed a few years ago for
The question is.
adult, what do they call it?
Senior living?
It was going to be, like elderly, not, well,
Our age.
Age restricted?
Our age.
No. Like, what's the place across from the tennis center, south end of town?
Oh, anthology.
Yeah, something like Anthology.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, the question for this one is, if Dino Noble chose to sell that, would we want to protect that big open parcel, or would we be okay with it being developed after they removed all their explosives?
Julie, I'm telling you, that the smaller section was already approved for the development.
Oh, I
The one
don't,
in front, right on Bushy Hill.
Oh, right on Hot Meadow.
No, not Meadow.
Hot Meadow and Powder Forest Drive, right at the corner there.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong way. That's what, yeah.
And that other,
Right, it
It was
abuts.
just more like that's the
I think it's got a real estate sign in.
yeah, of
the
course,
yard.
it does, the whole place
I think it
does.
does, yeah. So again, we'll have
we
to have that
definitely need
conversation.
Obviously, okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say, some savvy property owners played their cards in the right manner.
That's why we have to take a look at it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my question.
Before we had to step
is-
in.
Is the assumption and the reason you feel confident in going out and saying we're reassessing this in a different way because the assumption is that these assessments were improper assessments?
I am not saying that at all. No, I am not saying that. So
We don't know. I mean, right, that's part of it.
So we are, the assessor is in a new, what's the word to say? It's a new evaluation process, a new reval process.
Reval.
We're in the middle of it. We're starting that, and so she is determining that these are parcels that are getting the assessment, and we know. I mean, it's on the record. These parcels are not shown on the open space plan, and that open space plan has not been approved by the Board of Selectmen, and therefore they can't get the reduced assessment under the law.
Yep.
Because minimally, that's the piece.
That's the
Right.
reason, right?
Even though we're not clear on the criteria.
Yeah, I mean, if they're shown on the plan, the open space plan, they can get a reduced. They can apply for a reduced assessment.
Thank you.
So.
Savannah,
So there you go.
were gonna say something else?
All I was going to say
So
is,
that's,
Nope.
this big
Hold on,
hunk
Holly.
that,
for Public Act 490, as Commissioner Rice was saying, for forestry, it's got specific criteria where you have to get a state forester, and then the assessor plays the lead role. For farmland, the assessor plays the lead role. But for open space, that's the only statutory requirement where the Planning Commission plays the lead role in establishing who can receive that assessment. And so that's why this map is so important, at least
That's why
from
she came to us, okay.
490.
No, now it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Again, remember,
Right.
it's two pieces, right? You've got to approve the map, and then the Board of Selectmen have
Has
to
to.
adopt the map as a tool of reduced assessment.
So with these
Yeah,
parcels,
both have to happen.
so the parcels that might come off because they're not on, right?
7.
They could end up applying in the future if we put
If they're
them
in the
on the
map.
map. They
Correct.
could, okay,
Correct.
gotcha. Okay, if we chose to put, okay.
Can people request to be on the map?
As part of this
Six
public
pasture
process,
lane.
they will be able to, yes.
Six pasture.
But again, I mean, I say that, but it's,
And that leads to your point of having criteria and the importance of that, because if someone doesn't fit your criteria, you'll have a strong answer to say yes or no.
Right, good point.
But if we can't point to anything?
sometimes the criteria can be as simple as, have you recorded a deed restriction on your property to take away your own development rights? You know, I mean, that's one way to do it, right? I mean, if you've already taken that step to ease the property on your own in a perpetual easement, as an open space owned by, I mean, you could do that. It's one way to, I don't have all the answers, but we'll get you through the process.
Yeah.
I do know that conversations where Mr. Rice is headed about, having property that has a piece of, it has a house on it already, but is over some acreage. It's going to make it complicated. That's a very complicated piece, and I think it's very hard to discern what you're actually protecting from development. And some of those parcels could be parcels you want developed.
Right.
And that's why it can be,
Right.
we have to be very careful.
Yeah.
And is there a mechanism in place to unbind a PA 490 once it's approved?
I think that there's a time limit on their approval. I think they have to reapply
it was 10
after.
years.
9 or 10 years.
Yeah, I thought it was 10.
So it's
but-
renewable, yeah.
Or they can actually choose to develop, and then there's a penalty associated with that.
Oh, it's going to be a fun year.
I don't know that this is going to be.
so
I don't think
popular.
this is going to be as complicated or as.
So the two parts you mentioned, our work and then the Board of Selectmen accepting that, has to be done by October, is that right, or?
No, that doesn't, that doesn't, I mean,
Ideally, yes.
I mean, sure, if these parcels wanted to continue with their
Tax status,
tax status,
yeah.
that's, I've briefed administration on this. I mean, I think that is an option. And then that option, I would tell the Board of Selectmen, just adopt the map we had to ensure that the golf course and the other piece of ground that's in a trust that are clearly open space parcels would continue on. And they could do that today. They wouldn't even need your input. They could just agendize it and do it.
And then we could update that, and then
We
we'd
would
have to
update
go
it as
back.
part of our
Gotcha.
process.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
So that is an option, and I have shared that with town administration.
okay. All right.
And Marjorie does conservation and open space?
She does open space. I don't know if she's on conservation.
Yeah, she is.
She's
Oh, she is. She's
chairperson.
on- Oh, okay.
So that's really good to make
Yeah.
that connection,
Yeah.
especially to get input
Exactly.
on what I think.
Exactly.
Exactly, because they were talking about the map, and I was like, we're talking about the map and PA 4, you know, so it was really kind of timely, so.
Holly, are you notating 6 Pasture Lane?
I'm trying to.
I'm going to pay less for my taxes. That's all I know.
Do you have open space behind you, Bill?
Official? No. No, but it should be designated.
He figures if everyone else is, he
Mine's
wants to get a
wetlands.
piece of this action too.
And then Ethel Walker, going that way.
You know
So-
off the top of your head what percentage of our land is open space?
More than 30.
34.6.
significant percent.
What is it?
That's a
About
lot.
34,
You
35%.
just said it.
Yeah.
It's in the 30s.
Well, that was a product of the inventory
Yes.
that was done. So I think it's in the POCD.
I think
It
it
might
is
even be
too.
higher because of Meadowwood acquisition.
It is now.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Be higher, yeah.
So we got a lot
That
of
makes
open
us
space.
special.
Yeah, relative to other communities, that's got to be a pretty high percentage.
So we'll use that inventory database that we've already got set, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Awesome. Good
Thank you for
discussion.
researching and doing mathematics for me.
We'll bring you on, Julie, as an intern.
Research for maps.
In all honesty, to have the beautiful vistas that we do, and again, I'm very also thankful for Simsbury Land Trust for preserving a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really a hallmark of the town, for a town this old too. It's
And-
very rare.
And I'm assuming that doesn't include state parks.
gotta get your
state
backyard
forest
right.
land.
No, I think it does. I
Does
think that
include-
calculation does
That does
include
include state.
all of
okay.
it.
Yeah, like Stratton Brook,
So,
and, yeah, I
that
think
would
it
include
does.
It's in that
It
number?
is.
Okay.
It is,
Yeah. So,
And Don, curiously enough, there's a number of very small parcels that have been
Especially.
deeded to the town over the years during subdivisions, where, our subdivision regulation says we can request up to 20% of the area of a subdivision be dedicated as open space. And, 20, 30 years ago, when it wasn't really a plan to it, the developer would say, oh, here's my big parcel and here's my open space. There's a 20 acres and here's 3 acres.
Leftover.
Leftover.
Usually, yeah.
There's places off of West Mountain Road, like Chestnut Hill, is that one of the roads off of
yeah, well,
West Mountain?
yeah.
You go down and it's a cul-de-sac, and there's grass on the cul-de-sac, and that's designated open space. The town maintains it, it's crazy.
I want to say we mow our cul-de-sac.
You do?
Yeah, my neighbors, yeah, because they will. We go and do, we don't do the trees, but we do keep it mowed.
See, Marjorie doesn't like my idea of trying to sell off those parcels.
No, that wouldn't be good. What would you do in the middle of a cul-de-sac?
I don't know, but the town wouldn't have to pay to cut it.
Yeah, well,
There-
they don't pay to cut ours.
There are other places that make no sense at all.
Yeah, no,
It would be
I-
much better with the abutting property owner.
I would agree.
that-
As an abutting property owner who has big old trees falling onto my property
Yeah.
all the time from the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we started doing fee in lieu of.
Yeah.
Which made more sense, so. All right. So, without objection, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
All right.
You're getting
What? Oh, correspondence. Oh, do you have any
No, I
correspondence?
do not.
You knew that already.
I did. I actually did, but I did.
Yeah, correspondence you're going to get in the packet.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes late.
It does.
That's
You're
true.
right, you're right.
That is so true. So, all
The
right.
selectman slips something in.
That's true. So without
Well,
objection.
tonight your correspondence was the memo from
Right,
the
that's right.
town manager. You're right.
Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you, everybody.